And good morning, everybody. This is the Space Jockey Takeover on the What About It Plus channel. Hope you are doing well and you processed what we've seen during Flight 9. We're going to cover that topic and a few other topics as well today. And my partner in crime is going to be David, as always. Hi, David. How are you doing?
Hello, Szabi. Hello, everyone. Yeah, it's good to be back again. As you all know, we have skipped the last week, but it had a good reason. But we are now back, and we will summarize everything what happened last week because it was quite eventful.
Pretty much so. I think there was a lot of inaction, and then all of a sudden, a lot of action. So,
Yeah.
in order, we are going to cover the Flight 9, what happened, and what we know so far. And then we're going to cover a little bit Elon Musk presentation. And if we have some time, we're going to talk a few words about Jared Isaacman and what the heck is going on
Yeah,
that
so
front.
expected and not expected topics for today.
Yeah, pretty much unexpected. All right, let's start. Obviously, as always, we are looking forward to your questions in the chat. So feel free to ask us anything you like, and we are trying to cover that as much as possible. And I think without further ado, let's start it. Flight 9.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We've been waiting for it for quite a while, and I think a lot of people expected it to be a watershed moment because I think a lot of people were having pretty high hopes regarding Ship 35. Obviously, the booster 14-2 was a booster that's been reused, and it was great to see it flying for the first time, a booster flying again. But all eyes were on Ship 35 because the Block 2, the V2 version, the second generation ship, is still yet to be tested on a re-entry and all that other things. And we were hoping that this is going to be the flight that's going to break through that silence. So let's see what happens after the launch.
Yeah, so far, just for a quick summary, that it was a quite big milestone in the whole Starship program. That that was the first time ever when a booster has been reused, and that's a quite big milestone. So only on the ninth flight, so it's quite good. And even if we are thinking about that this booster has flown first time in January, then it's even better compared to the Falcon 9 at that time when we are just looking back. So the first Falcon 9 reuse was needed almost 1 year, and now the booster 14 was flown first time in January and now flown at the end of May. So it was a bit more than only 4 months. So it's quite good pace. But yeah, of course the other main role was on the Ship 35, and yeah, we were quite excited about it. But yeah, of course we can go through during to the launch what happened. Just very quick summarize when and what happened. So can we go or can we put in the video about the flight, or we won't?
Well,
Or we
probably
won't we
nah,
won't watch through?
the video might be a little bit
Okay.
laggish.
Okay, so
Let's
just
just yeah. I mean,
just briefly.
Felix
Okay.
Felix covered the whole launch
Yeah.
and what happened. Basically, just the milestones. That 33 healthy Raptor engines. That was
Yeah.
always good to see. That's a huge thing
Yeah, but
on a reused
it's not a
booster.
big deal at already, or yeah, because it was only one flight, the previous one, the flight 8, when only 32 engine have ignited, but now on the flight 9 every Raptor was performing quite good. And yeah, actually
Well,
the
perfect.
perfect, yeah. And yeah, the hot staging was performed 100% success again. So, but it was quite nice to see the flip of the booster. So it was quite interesting that it went up actually from our angle, what we could see in the SpaceX coverage. And yeah, then it was a nice turning back or backflip performed by the booster, and it was a quite big question because already prior to the flight 9 we knew that the angle of attack will be totally different compared to the previous flight, and because SpaceX engineers wanted to test how the forces and how everything is loaded on the booster when it comes back in a totally different angle of attack as previously. And yeah, actually that was the that was the fate of the booster, and it hadn't survived. But yeah, it was a good test because now they could see where is the limit of this booster. Of course, we don't know anything or not too much of the reason why they lost the booster when the 13 Raptor engines were ignited again for the braking already in the atmosphere. But there are some rumors, or rumor has it that because of the sloshing of the propellant, it was, and so the conditions were insufficient, and that's why it was just blown up, because the Raptors haven't got their food, their propellant, and that's why it was exploded. But anyway, it was a good test because they could collect it some nice flight data, and that was the most important thing.
And let's be honest, they put it under a really huge test and stress. So it's not a surprise. I think, obviously, for the tabloid writers, they definitely maybe just found another grip on bashing the Starship program, that they lost the booster, and that negative
couldn't catch it how there.
Yeah, so yeah, but that's absolutely normal, and I don't think anybody finds it a bad thing, because they are testing. A lot of people tend to forget that this is still prototyping. They are testing the limits, and we've seen that precisely, in action. So that's
in the meantime, you can see nice footages about the hot staging, and you can imagine how big forces and how big stress and heat and everything comes from the Raptors during this couple of seconds. But maybe that was a quite not interesting but important let's say seconds, because maybe the aft section of the ship has damaged a bit, and maybe that was one of the failures because of the ship was lost later, but not running through yet. So yeah, what was very important, that all of the 6 engines on the ship have ignited, and yeah, the ascending phase was continued. And then yeah, finally it got to Seco, and that was the first time when a V2 or a Block 2 ship could manage to to reach this phase. I mean the Seco, so the second stage engine cut off. And but wasn't everything seemed to be very, very well. So there were some strange happenings in the aft section. There is a photo about the engine bay, if we have it, about this strange hotspot. If we got this one, or if we don't have, then it's not a problem. But yeah, that's it. And that was the first sign that maybe not everything went quite well. And this hotspot, it's a vent. It's a venting, or it's how to say it? It's
leak.
It seemed to be a leak. Yeah, it's and that's because after it, when Seco happened, some strange spinning was started, and some quite big vent was coming out from the ship propellant tank, and that meant that actually the ship propellant tank has lost its pressure, and that meant actually the loss or the end of the ship already. Of course, they could manage.
The end of the controlled flight.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah, better to say,
probably
yeah.
that's. Mhm.
So the attitude control was lost, and yeah, you can see here this quite big venting coming out from the propellant tank, and the other venting is coming out from the engine bay. So actually, more bleeding points were coming out from the ship. So the spinning was just coming up, and yeah, it was uncontrolled, and that was the biggest problem. Later in the coast phase, maybe this spinning was less a bit, but anyway, even with this failure, maybe everybody knew that this flight won't be successful unfortunately. But anyway, at least the ship
Um,
survived.
on that footage that you can see in the upper corner, can you see that? I remember during the live coverage, I
Mhm.
didn't find it too healthy as well. I don't know. Eventually, it was just a fire suppression, or because they built in some sort of fire suppression system, or there was already a sign of something not going too well. To be
Yeah,
honest, not
it
entirely
is
sure.
it is still not quite clear currently what happened there. So it's a planned venting or an unplanned venting. But
Do
anyway,
we
this
know?
hotspot, this hotspot, what we have shown on the previous photo, it wasn't look like quite nice.
Yeah. Do we know that is this still related to the pogo vibration, or because I remember that they said that it's been tackled, at least.
Yes, as Elon Musk mentioned in his presentation, as good news that they could handle this pogo effect, so this harmonic resonance, and this venting or this damage in the engine bay. Maybe it's because of the hot staging effect. So, and that hotspot what we can see now, that's because of the hot staging as well. And now, or after, actually that's the aftermath of the hot staging. So yeah, at least no fire was coming up in the engine bay at all, and in the attic section as well. So yeah, but with this spin, yeah, it couldn't have been already a successful flight. So
Well,
after, okay, come on.
well, I was just about to say that it's quite unfortunate because of, well, first of all, they were losing the pressure from the tanks. So
Yeah.
that's needs to say it's not ideal, and
And yeah.
and on top of it, because it was spinning, they couldn't do the Raptor relight
Hmm.
demonstration, and a lot of people were saying that yeah, the problem that they couldn't open the doors, that was a problem. But otherwise, well, anyway, because it was spinning, they could not have performed
Yeah.
the deployment of those dummy Starlings. So anyway, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, of course, some people just roasting now. SpaceX said, okay, that on one hand they could just they could just develop this quite good Raptor engine, but they can't open a door.
Open a
So
door.
how can it be? But we don't know the reason why it wasn't
Nice.
working. So maybe,
Obviously, it's not that simple. Yeah.
yeah, maybe we just didn't see that the door was just a bit open, but maybe the pass dispenser or the Starlink dispenser wasn't working. So we don't know exact what happened here in the payload bay. Anyway, the deployment wasn't happened. That's for sure. That's 100%
Yeah.
sure. And the Raptor Relight wasn't performed either. So that means that the Starship can't go still to orbit, because it's a must to go to orbit, this Raptor reignition during coasting phase or coast phase, and until a ship can't perform it, they can't go to orbit. So of course this meant that this flight was a suborbital flight still, and the next one will be a suborbital flight again until they can't perform this Raptor ignition test.
Can we categorically state now that they kind of stuck at this phase, at this stage of the development, because now they had the three identical flights, and we can say for sure now that there will be fourth. And if that will go according to the plans, then probably they will be able to go to orbit. But it means that they should have a flawless flight 10 when ascending phase goes well, no venting, no spinning, reignition of the Raptor,
No leak.
and then a controlled re-entry,
Yeah.
no falling apart, and then probably a landing, because otherwise I can't see it. Maybe the re-entry is not that crucial, but definitely no leak, no spinning, and the orbit burn demonstration must happen before they can go to orbit.
Yeah, so and there is a quite big problem again that they couldn't test actually the heat shield. So that was a quite big test point, or if I can say that they wanted to test how the developments or the experiments on the heat shield would work, but of course they couldn't test it because of the spinning. The ship was lost previously. I mean, in the very early phase of the plasma phase already. So yeah, that was another big problem. Yeah, this door closing or not closing, or opening not opening, that's the smallest thing. So they will manage it. Maybe they haven't got the development time yet, but yeah, that's not a big deal for SpaceX, I guess.
Nah,
The biggest problem, the
it's
Raptor
lower.
ignition,
It's lower on the priority
yeah, of course.
list. Yeah.
So now actually 3 V2 ships are left, and one of it will fly totally the same as the previous, the previous V2 versions. That means they will have at least or maximum 2 ships if what can go to orbit actually, and it would be a quite important test before they are making the generation change, or they are going to the V3 versions of the ship. That at least they would perform at least 1 or 2 orbital flights with the V2 versions of the ships. So
That okay. So help me to understand this
okay.
with probably the listeners. So as far as I'm concerned, the V3 is going to be the longer version, right? Or are they
Just
going to have a
no,
V?
no.
Yep.
No.
No?
So as per the presentation, but we will see a slide about it. But currently, the V3 version of the ship won't be longer. It's a
Okay.
much more future ship.
David,
Yep.
let's start the presentation, and then it
Okay.
means that they will
Let's do
cover
it.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Elon Musk had a presentation.
Okay.
Everybody was expecting that to happen before, but it happened after the flight. So let's see what he said and what kind of plans SpaceX is having under their belt.
Of course, with these big plans about the 1,000 ships, they need space for it to to create them, and that will do the trick with the Giga Bay, Texas, because that will be, of course, another Giga Bay in Florida. So what we can see, it's totally connected with the parking garage, and we can't see from this angle, but it will be connected with the Star Factory as well. And it's quite interesting that the 2 big doors will be just facing with the highway. So yeah, for me it's quite interesting.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and of course they want to, of course not next year, but someday they want to produce 1,000 starships, which means 3 ships per day. in average. So just think about it a bit. But
You know,
it's not the near future, I think so.
yeah, I'm not entirely sure where I am with these kind of statements because I mean, we know that it's SpaceX, and if there's a company on this planet, then they are going to be the one who can be capable of producing 3 ships a day. So, like, one ship every 8 hours.
It's
That's
totally insane.
No, that's totally insane. But I don't know if that's ever going to happen. If it's still required, because even though that they're gonna ramp up the production, I can see that. Well, I can imagine that in the future there will be a huge boom in terms of building rockets and spaceships, and I think soon the number of the days counted regarding to Starship, because they're gonna go for something different, and by the time it would come that 3 ships a day, then they're gonna go for something even bigger, different, larger. I don't know,
Maybe
modified.
we can't imagine what's coming up.
Probably, and then yeah, jaw-dropping moment is going to happen in a few
Yeah.
years. But definitely, we can see that for that they need to find a clear design, and then they can start ramp up the production.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And once
but
we are
it's
yeah,
insane.
okay.
It's insane for sure. Yeah, sorry.
And once we are in the topic of the clear design, we can change the slides and we can go or turn our attention to the Raptor 3 engines. Of course, it's not a groundbreaking news because we have seen some renders and actually a real Raptor engine, Raptor 3. But now it's not a render, okay? So this Raptor 2 is in the background. They are actually there. So
An army. Yeah.
it's a totally real photo. It's not a CGI. Not I don't know what, but it's a quite real photo with this nice sea level and vacuum Raptor 3. So just look at it, and they are beautiful engines, and they are very strong, very powerful, and much lighter. Just what you can see that each Raptor 3 saves more than 1 ton of vehicle mass, which means that in terms of the booster, they save almost 40 tons of mass only with this improvement of the Raptor engine. So it's quite huge milestone. And of course they could power it up, and so it's a lighter but more powerful engine. So it's a beautiful rocket science. I guess we can go further. Yeah. One of the biggest improvements are coming up in terms of the super heavy, and yeah, the height will be a bit more or bigger, so it will be 72.3 meters high, and currently it's about 71 meters. But because of the integrated hot staging ring or hot staging part, let's say
Section. Yeah.
section, yeah, not anymore a ring, because it will be integrated, so it won't be a separate ring anymore. But the height is a bit more, and of course the propellant capacity will be a bit bigger than previously, and with the more powerful Raptor 3 engines, the lift-off thrust will be much bigger than previously. It's yeah, it's I don't know how many times bigger than Saturn V and SLS. Maybe I will count it later, but it's much bigger, as you can see. But if we are turning our attention to the top and the bottom side or part or section of the booster, these are the more interesting parts. So maybe
Looks unfinished, right?
yeah, and a bit naked. So you can see there are
Yeah.
no covering, no heat shield, because of the Raptor engines don't need a heat covering, because everything is integrated inside the engines and yeah, the engines itself or themselves, and that's why they won't use any heat shield, and it will look like the first booster, which was the booster 4, I guess, without
They
any
took
heat shield.
the shipping. Yeah.
So it, in my opinion, it looked like a bit strange. And now with this new version of the booster, that will be the normal version. So we
I
have
would
to,
say it looks a bit more steampunk
yeah,
to me.
we have to get used to it.
And also, let's just mention that they ditched the 35 engine design,
Yeah.
right?
And if we are looking at the very center of the engine section, we can see a quite interesting thing. In this case, on or this photo, the upper photo. So you can see it's not totally angled in 120 degrees as previously, but there is a bit more space between the two upper engines, and that's because they don't want to hit the ridge of the new flame diverter exactly or directly with the Raptor jet. Okay, so that's because they are changed a very bit the setup or the designing of the engines. That's intentional. So it's not a render failure, or it's not a it's currently like it will be look like it look like it will look like so it's about 140 degrees between the two upper engines, and 108 degrees between the two lower parts. But yeah, as you mentioned, Sabi, they stuck with the 33 engines, and it doesn't seem so that they will improve or they will go for the 35 engines. So they have just deleted this plan because maybe they won't need it. Okay,
I think very
anything to add?
important. Yeah, I think it's very important to highlight that this is called the iterative design or development, and that's quite different from the traditional development of any rockets. And we can see that it's a very unique way of developing a rocket. Let's say, let's compare it to New Glenn, which had its first test flight, and they just came up with the result of the first flight, and it looks like that they might need to redesign the
Yeah.
whole rocket, and they need to add two more engines. Well,
Mm-hmm.
there are rumors about it,
Yeah.
and it looks like this is how, I mean, with SpaceX that's absolutely normal. Let's say with Blue Origin, that's unheard of. They supposed to design it and it meant to fly as it was designed, but now they are realizing that there is a problem with it, and they just luckily got away with the first flight. So with Starship, that's a totally different case, and that's quite normal that they have an idea, they have a design, and they just change their mind, or they just go back to the original plan or whatever.
Yeah.
They just design it on the go.
Yeah, so they can play with let's say play with the engine number, but of course if they want to use need it, then why to change? So
Yeah,
they
nothing
can,
set in
yeah,
stones. Yeah,
if the Raptor 3 will have so big thrust, then they still can manage everything what planned with 33 engines at that as well.
indeed.
Okay, and if you go to the top of the booster just for a second, there is another quite strange change in terms
The
of
Starship
the.
gonna go Russian style, right?
On one hand, yes. So welcome back, and one or Soyuz.
Yep.
Yeah. So this this hot staging part or section is very very let's say familiar with Russian rockets or Soviet rockets, but which is much bigger change is the number of the grid fins. So it's not a failure, or it's not this graphic design failure, but actually the super heavy V3 will have only three aero brakes or grid fins, and it's quite strange because it won't be they won't have equal space next to each other, so they won't use it as per 120 degrees, but it will look like a T shape. So on one quarter of the booster, won't be a grid fin, and that's because of the re-entry, because they can let's say pitch and roll the booster much easier if there is no grid fin on that side. So if we are
Which
imagining that the
is
booster, yeah, it's quite
totally crazy. Yeah.
totally crazy. So because now currently with the 4 grid fins, they have to manage it with the grid fins totally angled to the ground, 90 degrees. Compared to the angle of attack. But without a grid fin, there won't be any, let's say, disruption with the air actually, or with the drag, better to say. So or they will have a much easier task to have the booster back. I
So
hope
it's
it
like
was
like a
you
Y
understood
shape.
it.
So it's like a Y shape, right? So 2 on one side
It's a T
and
shape.
and 1 on the other. Yeah.
So it will be still they will be 90 degrees next to each other. So 1/4 of the booster won't have this grid fin.
Yeah. It's quite significant
Yeah.
change. They never had 3 grid fins before. So the Falcon
No.
9s have 4, and I guess they followed that pattern with the 4, and then they changed the position of the grid
Yeah.
fins. But now it looks like they come up with the idea that 1 is unnecessary. So let's stick with 3.
Correct.
Crazy.
Yeah. So we can move on, and I don't know what's coming. The propellant transfer. Yeah, it's a quite important part of not only the SpaceX programs, so Mars or yeah, let's stack with the Mars program, but for NASA, for the Artemis program, because without this propellant transfer, they couldn't perform either the moon landing or the Mars landing. So they have to somehow figure out how to perform this propellant transfer. And what's for sure, it won't happen this year, because previously it was planned for this year, but it's already planned for Q1 2026, if I'm correct, or maximum or at least Q2, so until summer or beginning of summer. Yeah, so it will be. I don't know how they will manage it, but they have to figure it out. So how to have the quite difference pressures between the two ships, because with no difference between the pressures in the tanks, they couldn't just transfer the propellant from one ship to the other one. And yeah, of course they didn't want to show us the exact point where these transfers will happen. So these 2 points are the attention points only, where the two ships are attached to each other. But the main show or main part wasn't showed for us.
Probably doesn't exist yet, or they just have a vague idea about it.
Yeah, or it's top
That's
secret.
or it's top secret. They are trying to do something that's never done before. Obviously, in a small portion, they do some propellant transfer on the ISS, if I remember correctly.
That's correct.
But I mean, we are talking about crazy amount of oxygen and methane. So
And the
that's
holes are
crazy.
quite big as well. So that wasn't
Yeah,
performed with about 52 meters long ships. So it wasn't performed at all previously. Of
yeah,
course,
yeah.
yeah, with much smaller spaceship, or yeah, it's a Progress and ISS. It's a totally different story.
Yep. And if you think about it, it's so on weightlessness or microgravity, liquid's just floating in the tanks. So that's gonna be hard to figure out how to apply forces to the whole stack, like when two ships, the tanker and the refiller tank, gonna attach to each other and then apply some sort of force that the refiller tank is going to have all the liquid right at the pumps that's pumping
Mhm.
through, or maybe pressurized, and the pressure is pushing it through that attachment point and entering the tanker. So that's something that's never done before. And you will hear the future plans in a second from David. I don't understand how they are going to do it in time. Yeah, let's see what they are planning.
And one other big question is about the boiling off. So it maybe everybody can imagine that it won't be a very short performance. I mean the propellant transfer. So during this propellant transfer, they will lost anyway some amount of fuel, but this whole demonstration mission will be will last about 2 weeks. So just imagine how many or how much, let's better say, how much propellant should or would boil off
Well, yeah, go to waste.
if they can't manage it somehow. So that will be
Yep.
another big question mark, how to manage it or how to handle the boiling off
Yeah.
because
Let's
of the
just highlight
heating of the hull.
we're talking about cryogenic fuel, so
Yeah.
that's really really densified
Hmm.
liquid propellant. Well, gaseous propellant, but it's so cold that it's liquidified, and obviously in space the heat can vary. You know, you can go really high and can go really low, and yeah, they're definitely going to waste some and keep them cryogenic. Yeah, luckily it's not our problem to figure that out.
Yeah. Maybe we would have much more gray hair.
Yeah. I already have some, but I think I
Me
would be
too, but
like, yeah, Steve Martin style by age 50 or 45. Anyway, luckily it's not us. Right.
yeah.
So I don't know if there is any design or yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So on what we can see on this slide, it's not very proper or what not there
Just
are
carry
some
on.
yeah there are not, there are some failures because of the currently on the flight 9 already so the second stage, so I mean the ship was already 52.1 meters, so it's not anymore 50.3 meters but already what we can see as next generation. That means that the ship, so the second stage is already the next generation that they are. And yeah, that's a maybe a small mistake from SpaceX, but it's not a big deal. Of course, every eyes are on the booster changes or developments, and yeah, future Starship. Of course, we don't know when and how can we see this much longer version of the ship, but it's not a big, not it, that it won't be real in the near future. So
Mhm.
I don't know how many years will passing by, but it won't come up next year. That's for sure.
But that kind of makes sense because they cannot go with the longer version yet. They need the shorter version, the
Sure.
current size version, because the HLS is
Hmm.
going to be this version or this size,
Yeah.
not like the I don't know, much taller version, and so they need to focus on this size no matter
Correct.
what. Yep.
And but anyway, they can manage the moon landing and the Mars landing with the middle. So the, let's say, the next generation ship and booster pair. So with the currently total height with 124 meters long Starship, that's enough with the moon
Hmm.
and for the Mars as well.
Yep.
Okay, next slide. Yes, the Mars, and it's quite strange to say it out loud. It's not re-entry but entry, because
Yep.
we got used to that Earth re-entry, but currently it's not a re-entry but only an entry, and it will. The trick is all about the much bigger CO2, so the carbon dioxide bits, because it means twice the atomic oxygen, which means oxidization, which means much bigger burning up levels compared to the Earth's re-entry phase. So that's
So the
why.
degradation on the heat shield is going to be larger, right?
Correct. Yeah. So the oxidization level will be much bigger. So actually twice the as what we every spaceships was performing or yeah
Experiencing on
during or
Earth.
experienced during the Earth reentry. So that's why SpaceX has to figure out somehow a new or redesigned heat shield for the Mars versions of the ships, and that's why it would have been much very important to test already uh, these experimental heat tiles with the Flight 9 or the
Yep.
previous flights, but anyway, they have to figure out somehow because otherwise the ship won't survive the entry of the Mars. Okay, yeah, maybe we will get for this to this point someday. Maybe not in 2028, but who knows? I don't think so, to be honest.
But hold on. But Elon said that he would like SpaceX to send some of the starships in 2026.
Yeah, there will be a table about the
Okay.
future plans with the
Okay.
coming up transfer
Okay.
windows. So
Okay.
that will be a quite big summarize. Yeah, that's it.
Hold on. Let's just go back because we're gonna skip it. Sorry, Jonathan. Tesla bots, very important. I think we have a huge faith, and I think everybody who's into robotics has a massive faith in the Tesla bots or the Optimus robots because now we can see, and Tesla shared some of their footages of how one of their model Gen 3 model is dancing, doing some dance moves. It's or okay, so it's taught by people, so it's not doing it on the streets, right? So it's still in laboratory, but it is capable of doing such moves that it's quite unbelievable. And I think we've never seen robots doing that sort of moves. That even the fact that it's capable of doing that, I think everybody can see already that these robots are on Mars, optimized for Mars conditions and doing the tasks that humans ideally would do at the beginning. So we don't need to send humans in the first ships. There will be robots there. They're going to do some stuff. They're going to improve. It's such a fascinating future that's ahead of us. It's incredible. It's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
I totally agree.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, sorry. So future plans.
Oh yes, and yeah, the can we go to the table, please? Yeah. So yes, everybody shall decide how real or how unreal are these plans. Of
How much
course,
of an Elon time it is.
oh yes, of course, it's not a question. Everybody would be very happy, including us, if the first starships could be launched already next year to the Mars. So the plans currently that they want to send 5 landers or so 5 ships to Mars. Um, yeah, the goals are there, so I don't want to highlight them pretty much. So yeah, so the 26 window opens in October, I guess, and it lasts until December. So it's already less than less than 1.5 years. Just think about it. So even without any orbital flight, SpaceX plans to send the first Starship to the Mars in 1.5 years. Even without any orbital flight, without any propellant transfer demonstration, or actually um, operational propellant transfer. So they have to figure out somehow before they send it anything to even to the moon, not to the Mars. So of course that's the plan. Maybe that's pretty much a long time, but I can. So the next, so this from this point of view, the second window is much more feasible in my opinion, because until 2028 they will have 2 gigabase, 2 star factories, and at least 5 or maybe even more launch pads. Because currently they are already building the 2 gigabase, or let's say the grounding of the gigabase have started. One of the star factory is ready. They will build another one and build already the third launch pad in Florida, and they will just add with 2 more, I guess, in at the SLC, so Slick 37, I think. So that will be the 2 more pads. So that's why I think so that maybe they will ready, at least with the logistics and with the hardware part, until 2028. And I don't know how many ships can be launched to the Mars. Maybe not 20, but at least they will have the chance to do it, because I think so that 2026, so the next year, is not 100% sure that it's yeah, of course it's unbelievable still, but maybe it's not impossible, but it has a very, very small chance. That's why I think so that the 2028 and 2029 launch window, it's much more feasible. And of course, it depends how the goals can be met. So everybody
I
has to think about how to see this table, or how to think about it.
I honestly, I've been thinking about this part of the presentation, and I think so. Elon Musk should see the potential in themselves. Otherwise, he would. I mean, yes, we know that he likes to plan big and aim for really seemingly unachievable tasks. But I think he can see, because he's right there. He can see the production capability in Star Factory, um, having the Gigabay at both locations, Florida and
Texas.
Starbase. Yeah, they can ramp up the production so that they can really like producing like a lot of ships in
Hmm.
a relatively short time. But they definitely need to jump this obstacle that's ahead of them, because at the moment the design problem is limiting them so much that they cannot launch at a rate that would be ideal to test all those features that
Hmm.
they need for the 2026 Mars transfer window.
Hmm.
So I can see that if they will figure this out, that what's wrong with the ship V2 design, and they can start launching like every week or every other week, and get shared loads of data, then probably I can see that they can aim for the 2026 Mars window.
Hmm.
Because then, I mean, if the heat shield doesn't work, not a problem. If the fuel transfer is working, then it means that they are in the position to load a ship that can make it to Mars.
Or just
And
send it to there and let's see what happens
exactly,
without any
exactly,
payload.
exactly. But without fuel, it cannot happen.
Hmm.
So fuel transfer is absolutely crucial. Not even
Yeah.
mentioning HLS, because we don't even talk too much today about the moon program, but that's essential. Um, yeah, so let's see. And I think we have like 9 minutes from the planned today's show, or the planned duration of the show. And I think it's, well, 8 minutes. Very important to probably finish with Jared Isaacman and
Hmm.
what just developing right now, because we just lost a very good candidate for becoming NASA administrator. I think he was such a seemingly a unifying force uh, on the table for aiming for all those plans, Moon and Mars programs, but at the same time, uh, a lot of critics are saying that what's happening at NASA is very damaging. The fact that how much science program is being killed off right now, and the funding is decreasing rapidly, and probably he wasn't a big fan of all these axes, all these cuts, and probably that's determined his future, which is quite sad because everybody thought that he's a very, very capable candidate.
Yeah, so this news came out from nowhere on Saturdays
Yep.
that the White House was withdrawn or has withdrawn the nomination of Jared Isaacman because he should have actually officially, how to say it, not yet, not inaugurate yet, but
Just become the
so
administrator. So he was just one step away from
so
that. Yeah.
so the last decision was planned timed this week, just
Yeah.
maybe today, I don't know when, but it's not anymore a question because this news was coming up and everybody just tries to figure out how why it has happened. Of course, some people are seeing behind the scenes because of the end of the role of Elon Musk in the administration, and that's because Jared um, wasn't should wasn't in a good position anymore because of the part of Elon. But
But a lot of people
that's only
already
one.
criticized that because Elon had a fixed term doing the
I
Doge
know,
thing.
I know, but
So
some
no,
people
I'm
thinks
just explaining
sure.
for the viewers who doesn't that he had a set term, so he was departing anyway. So that and then why they nominated Jared? So that was something just
Yeah.
happened recently, right?
Yeah, of course, but the conspiracy theory is even growing. So yeah, who knows?
It always does. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's no
and
surprise on that.
now is a big question: who will be the next nominee? Because no other people was just named yet. So we don't know at all who can just fill the space now,
There are
and who will.
some speculations
Of
about.
course, but yeah, but the main thing that the whole process has to start from the very beginning, and we don't know when can it be ended or yeah, finished. So
Yeah, when
again,
NASA
with
is
the
going to have an administrator, that's a big question mark. Yeah.
and with these dark days for the NASA and with the plans of these big cuts, the new administrator won't have an easy task or easy job, but somebody has to have it because without another administrator, the administration can't be driven by itself. So
I
yeah,
so we're not gonna go into politics,
of
obviously. That
course.
we never done it, and we never are intending to do that. But one thing is sure, um, and that's China, because China is definitely coming up. We can see their very ambitious um, moon plans. They have a space station just built up like in no time. They are focusing on multiple science projects in multiple areas. And now at the moment, it seems like that the US is willingly withdrawing their crucial role in science, in space science. The Earth observation going to be cut, space weather observation, 2/3 of the new generation scientists development program is cut. So it looks like LIGO, one of the LIGO telescope is off. So there are so many things that's going to come to a stop or a halt, and nobody really understands that what is going on at NASA. And my problem with this is that if they just want somebody who's delivering the will of the president, I don't think that's healthy for NASA, because NASA has their own scientific agenda. NASA is always try to focus on science and only science, and at the moment it looks like it's getting caught in politics, and that's never going to do any favor for science. And I'm really worried about that.
Yeah, maybe the Congress will have some words for this planned budget, but maybe they won't change it at all. It's a totally uh, real
Scenario.
real scenario. Yes, so who
Yeah.
knows? But yeah,
But my problem is Jared is gone. So that ship
that's
has
for sure.
shelled. That's gone.
But at
He's
least
never gonna come back.
he can return to his program, so the Polaris program, and maybe he will he will be the first person who flies with Starship one day, at least. So maybe he can just feel his role with inspiration to the young generation.
I'm sure he's gonna keep on continuing on that path, but he could have played so much larger role. And yeah, it's a sad development. We're not happy about it, and
Yeah.
I can see that most of the journalistic sort of area is not either. Not happy.
Yes.
Yeah, so let's hope that we can continue next week. Well, 2 weeks later, because next week we won't be here, mainly because we are going to be all of us in Florida. There's a Hungarian astronaut is going to the International Space Station during the Axiom 4 mission, so we're gonna cover that and we're gonna be busy with that. But we probably gonna figure out something to come back live. But let's hope that next time we're gonna continue on a much happier note.
I hope so.
Yeah, it's not good. I mean, yeah. Starship program is probably deliver all those promises that Elon was mentioning during this presentation. Yeah, it's definitely not boring times for
That's
sure.
for sure. Yeah. So we won't be bored.
At all, at all. All right. Thanks for being us this week. Definitely, if you like, just smash the like button. Subscribe to this channel. Make sure you're following the parent channel. Why and what about it? Because Felix is delivering to you every Tuesdays and Fridays the most important information, not just regarding the Starship, but from the space industry as a whole, from the world. So definitely stay tuned. We have a 24/7 camera. I think it's temporarily down now, but it's coming back very soon. And you can watch what is happening at Starbase 24/7. So, yeah, I think that was us for today. And we come back at some point next week or a week after. But up until then, have a great week and stay tuned.
Yeah. So take care, guys, and we see each other next time.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Take care. Have a good one. Take care. Bye bye.